Hey, Yetis, this is Nick and Jack from the Best One Yet podcast. Now, the last company we worked at, they used Paylocity and everything just worked. It wasn't until launching our own media business, this show, that we realized how rare that is.
Because Paylocity is one delicious burrito of operational needs. They roll up HR, finance, and IT seamlessly into one delicious bite.
When everything wraps together like that all at once, your workforce, your tech stack, your business, you don't need more tools. You don't even need cilantro.
You need one solution.
And that is why Paylocity built a single platform to connect HR, finance, and IT with AI-driven insights and automated workflows that simplify the complex and power what's next.
Or as we call it, a delicious operational burrito.
Yes, we do. Experience a one place for all your HCM needs, besties.
So start now at Paylocity.com/one.
Paylocity.com/ONE.
Business is booming, but you know what really helped? Xero, the accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think unpaid bills were just part of it. Ugh. But batch payments? Wow. Automated accounts payable? Even better. All in one place. That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No bills in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them. That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, everyone. I am your host, Kathy Hackle, and welcome to Tech Magic, the podcast where we talk about everything happening in technology, from gaming to, HMDs, to anything, maybe even amusement parks. So we are tackling everything related to technology, and I am joined, as usual, by my co-host, Lee Keebler. Lee, how you doing?
I'm good. Traveling a lot this week. Made my way down to Los Angeles and evidently brought the Portland rain with me, so nothing's changed. Just kind of a different setting. I've actually just never seen this type of weather in LA.
Well, I think everyone's under like a flood warning, right? It's like really bad over there.
It's really something else. I'm kind of beside myself as someone who used to live out here. I went years without ever seeing rain, and to just like show up and it just be days of it has been unreal. But speaking of technology, I did see something because of it. For those listening in Los Angeles, this won't be a big deal, but I mean, I've only seen this in news stories, so to see it in person was pretty cool. With all of the rain, that means the LA River, which is this man-made river that goes through the center of LA, goes out to Playa del Rey, out to the inlet to the ocean. And when it floods like this, that means a lot of trash gets caught in that river and floods out to the ocean, which is obviously bad. Mm-hmm. And they've got basically this machine that looks like a floating water taxi at the end of this inlet with big nets, and it's just sucking in all of the garbage to recycle it to make sure that only clean water is going out to the ocean. And it was just something surreal to see. It's just kind of the neatest robot that's just sitting in the middle of the LA River going out to the ocean, just cleaning up all the garbage before it hits the ocean water. So that was kind of my first I like that. That's cool.
I like that. Those are the type of robots I want to see more.
Yeah, those right? are good robots.
Those are good robots. Those are the good kind, not the Terminator kind. No, that's really interesting. Yeah, I love to see how robotics is being used in AI with that as well. When it comes to fighting climate change, I think that's an obvious use case, right? That we should all be supporting in some way or another.
Yeah, so. It's going to be interesting to see where we start seeing robotics play more practical parts of our everyday lives, as opposed to, the stuff that you happen to stumble across that are kind of like neat videos on LinkedIn or TikTok or whatever. You're like, wow, robots can do this, but but what can they really do? Like, what do we need them to do? That's the bigger question, which is the same question that you and I have been posing for artificial intelligence of this is cool, but can it do my taxes yet? Can it, do the stuff that I don't want to do yet? That's kind of where I think all of this comes to a head, and the practicality gives it that value.
Yeah, in my sink, I have this thing. I've talked about it before. It says, Alexa, do the dishes.
Right.
When I'm doing the dishes, I'm like, I wish Alexa could do the dishes. But anyway, that's the kind of robot I want to see at home. But yeah, I think those are the great type of use cases for robotics. And obviously, and you and I have had this conversation, but for me, robotics is part of like the advances in robotics and computer vision and simulation are part of spatial computing, are part of navigating the
It has
world
to be.
with these, with technology, engaging with it in new ways.
Yeah, it absolutely has to be. I mean, a robot, like a robotic arm is set within parameters, especially when it's like fine tuned to an assembly line, which I think is what most people are used to seeing. But the second you start seeing delivery robots that are going through trying to like deliver goods or even like safety equipment or just food for that matter, I mean, all of a sudden now spatial computing and artificial intelligence becomes a necessary compound to make that robot have awareness that it needs to complete its task. We've just come so far so quickly that it's kind of mind blowing to see it happening in real time.
Yeah. So for this episode and everyone listening, we're definitely going to talk about, head-mounted displays and everything that's happening in that space. Then we're going to go into AI because we always do, and there's so much to talk about in that area. And then we're going to finish with a topic we don't talk about too much, but is the future of amusement parks and entertainment. We'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we're hearing about that might be coming that we find interesting that are related to technology. So that'll kind of be our rundown for today for everyone listening. I did want to share something, Lee, and you saw this. I last week on Thursday, I believe, I announced not the launch, but the pre-order of my 5th book. Can you believe that? 5 books already.
Yes.
Crazy.
I as soon as I saw that, I was thinking to myself, didn't I just buy the last one? Like, I just put this on my shelf.
Yeah, I work at a really fast
pump
pace.
those books out. You do.
I'm a machine. I'm a content monster. That's what I tell everyone. I'm a content monster. I'm like always producing. Always creating. And yeah, with this book, it's with Irina Cronin, who a lot of us know from the industry. She's been around for a long time. Amazing. I mean, I learned so much from her. It was amazing. Like I'm so honored that she and I got together to do this. Learned a lot, but yeah, we worked so hard on this. I mean, and I was working full time, right? So it was like, working full time, trying to write this book in record time because we were like, we need to hit, publishing moves very slowly. That's what most people that have published a book know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's got to be. But it's coming May 14th. So, but you can pre-order it now. And we're already getting lots of really interesting, interest from companies and everything. I think it's going to be a very useful business book. So
I think, are you going to drop the title? What's the title?
Yeah, it's Spatial Computing, an AI-driven business revolution. So it dives deep into the intersection, the convergence between AR, VR, XR, and AI, and also goes deeper into spatial computing, what it means. And my whole premise is I think a lot of people are using spatial computing as a word to replace extended reality or even VR. To me, no, it's the future of computing. It's that what moves us from personal computing to mobile computing to now spatial computing, where the interface is the space around us, right? I have a broader perspective about what this is. I think if you only think it's one technology or one type of device or one term, you're being very reductive.
Totally. So as you were co-authoring this, what do you think is like the big surprise nugget for you without like giving away the butler did it, right? Like, what was it that stood out to you?
The biggest education that I personally got writing the book, because Irina is very much in the AI space, was how important AI is to spatial computing. I knew that before, but I wasn't as close to it. But I feel like I really went down the rabbit hole with her and really wrap my head around a lot of the parts of AI that play into this. So that's why when I talk about the Apple Vision Pro, when I talk about any of these devices, I'm thinking like this is part of that AI revolution that everyone's obsessed about. So that's why we put that title on as part of the book, because we want people to understand it's like this is bigger than just a headset, and it's bigger than just one type of technology. This is a field of technology that's evolving.
And that's the thing, right? It's got to go to work at some point and be put to a use case where it makes productive sense. And right now I'm starting to get that same feeling I had when trolling through LinkedIn or whatever, looking at like different like articles that are being written where it's a lot of either, oh my gosh, this is the newest technology and you have to pay attention to it, but no one explains why.
Yeah.
Or a mixture of this is the newest technology and it's going to take your job and you should just like go and hide in a hole, and no one really explains why. Right. So there has to be that balance of, yeah, I mean, it is going to impact some people's jobs. I'm not here to say that that's not going to happen. But having a better clarity and a better understanding of like where this technology combined has its resourceful impact is such a necessary voice right now.
I think it's going to be useful to people. It's going to reframe the conversation around spatial and AI, what AI's role is. And I think, it's got a lot of the why. Why is this happening right now? What is the role of AI in spatial computing? But also, what can you start to think about? How can you start to use, what do you need to start to think about what comes after mobile? It's going to be, it's not going to be here. It's not going to move super fast. It will move fast. But we're still 5 or 10 years from like full like spatial computing era. So I don't know, or maybe sooner. I don't know.
We don't know. And it's kind of interesting, right? Like, because we used to be able to calculate all of this based on Moore's law. And this is me turning into like my old Intel days, right? But like Moore's law was gospel, and the math is slowly changing, and things like this type of technology don't necessarily adhere to what we've known for the last 40 years from Moore's law. We don't know what the new law is, right? We're kind of in this techno-lawless society.
Like, the exponential curve that we're on, it's like nothing. I don't think we've ever seen something like this. I'm just, every week it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm blown away. I'll tell you, related to that, the fact that we announced the book last week, and within a day or two, it is the number 3 bestseller on Amazon for artificial intelligence for the category AI. And it's like the number 3 as well in business management. Just was a big signal to me that this is a book that people are going to want to read. And not because I wrote it. I mean, yeah, great. Please pre-order it, y'all. But it's more like, it's filling a void. It's feeling like people are interested in learning more about this. So
it means that people are trying. Yeah, exactly. It means people are looking for it, right? It means that they're saying, okay, this is something that's changed. And I think one of the things that this podcast does do, and I've had a couple of listeners actually say this, is like, it does in some ways calm the nerves of, I think a lot of people feel like they're behind when they're learning about stuff. There's almost this FOMO just about knowledge base, and people are starting to freak out. Like, I didn't learn everything. There's stuff that's happening that I don't know about. And while maybe that's true, that also needs to kind of like be okay and be understood. Like, yeah, just go, like, we're all learning this stuff at the same time. Some of us are a little bit ahead of the curve, and we're putting out the materials as fast as we can to get everyone else caught up to speed. And that's kind of why these things exist.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I feel like, I'm thrilled that it's already a bestseller. So on Amazon,
that's amazing.
And anyone definitely interested, please pre-order. You can go to spatialcomputingbook.com. Because you and I love really good domains.
Yes.
So, spatialcomputingbook.com. There you go.
That's kind of it's its own addiction, isn't it? Like the domain hoarding. It really just, yeah.
And you're like, I will do this with this domain one day, and I never do it. I have so many ideas and domains. I actually went through all my domains and cleaned up. I was like, I'm not going to use this.
I do that quarterly and go, what was I even thinking?
Yeah.
Or how do I pronounce that? I don't even remember how to pronounce it.
Yeah. I was like, why did I even buy this? Like, but yeah, I just went through a lot of them. I'm like, do I really want to let go of this one? I'm like, yeah, just let go.
Let go. Yeah.
But spatialdynamics.io, that was very special.
That was a good one. That was a solid find.
That was a good one. So anyway, let's get into the news. Let's talk about everything happening in head-mounted displays or hardware. Apple Vision Pro, lots of reviews. I was able to talk to Yahoo Finance last week about the device. I used your quote. I said, there's $3,500 worth of technology in the device, not necessarily $3,500 worth of of value yet for the consumer. And I think that, that is being very honest. Like you said, honesty pushes technology forward. And I wholeheartedly agree with that.
I love it. It's just, we got to be honest about these things, because there's a couple of articles that have popped up of like, oh, some people are starting to return their Apple Vision Pro. Well, I don't think it was meant for them. And good grief, we've been honest about this for months now. We're on episode 19 or something like that. And I think for at least 17 of those episodes, once an episode, I say, this is a dev kit. This is not for the average consumer. So
this is version 1. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that some people are returning it. I mean, definitely, I could see why, maybe it didn't, they didn't find enough content, or it made them it made them dizzy. I think there's so many reasons.
But it's a shame that there's articles pointing at this. Like I'm specifically thinking of a Verge article, and I typically like Verge articles, but it bothers me when I see this, because every headset gets returns. This is just part of the industry of like, people end up buying things and they're like, oh, this is not what I thought, or maybe they have a bad experience or what have you. So I think for most of the veterans in this industry, we're looking at this of like, this isn't a news article. What are you doing? But I get it. It makes clicks. It sells ads. You gotta put out content.
Well, but for us, it's like, I think at Spatial Dynamics, it's like, we're building, we're creating, we're starting to test this. Like, I didn't feel like we needed to rush and have an app at launch. Right. Like, I didn't want to do that. Yeah. I wanted to be like, let's take our time. Let's figure out how to better use this technology, et cetera. So I think the content will come. It's really early, and it will get there, right? It will get there.
It's exactly what happened with the iPhone 1, and the same thing happened with the iPad 1. Yeah, the content will get there when the version they release that everyone is supposed to buy is ready. Yeah. Like, this is just a very Apple approach to new flagship hardware.
Yeah, and it'll take some time. There's also like rumors about a redesign for Apple for the iPhone 16, the new type of camera that will definitely have a lot more spatial capabilities, like I've been telling people. So I think, come September, probably, maybe April, they'll say something, but September.
That'll probably be my next iPhone upgrade. That'll probably be what does it, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I'm still sitting on a 13 Pro Max, but like when that 16 comes out and it really has the same fidelity and same quality, if not better, for spatial video, that's the upgrade for me.
Yeah. So we'll see. And you and I had this conversation. I think you said that the spatial video that you take in headset looks better than the spatial video on phone, right?
Better is such a subjective word. Yes, it looks unobjectively better, but that's not to say that the 15's footage doesn't look great. It does. I think that when it is captured, and I'm just hypothesizing here, but it seemed to me when it's captured in the headset, because it's being captured by the device to which it's going to deliver, it's just
more native, I guess, right?
Yeah, it's just more. But the fact that the iPhone 15 puts out the footage in spatial content like it does, that's really the device, right? Because it was a little weird when we all saw the demo of someone wearing their headset, their Apple Vision Pro, trying to take family photos of their kid's birthday, right? Yeah. Like that was something that rightfully got called out in their like demo video. It looked strange. It looked a little like sci-fi, like weird sci-fi, like no one wants to be that dad or whatever. But the fact that you can do it on your phone and then you make the device the thing that you can view in, wow, they undersold that hardcore. That should have been like the bam moment for why, because it just looks really good.
Yeah, because like my son's birthday, we shot it on my phone. Like, we weren't going to put the device on. I want to be there, right? And I was I've been traveling internationally. I was shooting the cover of a women's magazine, and which, oh my gosh, it was an amazing experience. But we shot part of the photo shoot in Spatial, right? So I'm really, and we used the phone in that case. We definitely used the phone because it was just easier to maneuver in the space we were in and all that stuff with the phone.
Well, it's easier to maneuver, but the thing that people, I think, often don't talk enough about is, and this is so splitting hairs, I did think when I was A/B testing the content that the audio from the iPhone footage sounded better than the audio from the Apple Vision Pro. The Apple Vision Pro audio was just a little bit too blown out. I don't know if they were just like too close as a source or what have you. Or maybe because it has the microphone used for capturing the user's voice, it's not exactly attuned to capturing the surrounding area. But the audio that the iPhone 15 picked up for the spatial video sounded fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It'll be interesting, I think. And once again, like, I think you and I agree that this is going to be one of the selling points. It's the future of family photos, the future of like how you're going to connect. So yeah, I'm really thrilled about that. So talking about spatial video, which is now supported in some ways by Meta Quest 3. This is kind of old news by this point, but let's talk a little bit about Mark Zuckerberg and his posting. It was funny. There was an article like Mark Zuckerberg's entering his posting era. The posting era where he's posting to get through it. But like him talking about his review of the Vision Pro. It was interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Before I
have a kind of
how about you start with that before I start sinking teeth into this?
You can go into it. You can go into it, and I think you might agree with him on a few things.
I agree with him on a lot of things. I want your opinion first.
My opinion. Okay. To me, it was interesting to see him post about this and be so direct about his perspective. Of course, it's you can't be neutral. Like, he can't be neutral. Like, this doesn't exist. Like, there's no such thing as a neutral review coming from someone that has a device that is competing in some ways. And there are some points that, yes, that were right. I just don't think that the Meta Quest 3 has been marketed in the same way as the Vision Pro. To me, they're very different devices. They do some of the same things, but they're marketed in very different ways. And then strategically, I understand why he's doing this. Because as I understand, I don't have any insider knowledge. This is nothing I don't know anything other than what I look at, what I read and what I know is coming from the things they've said in public. But strategically, I think he's doing this because they will be making some announcements later this year about some of the prototypes and things they're working on. They had, Andrew Bosworth, what was it, in December, talked to Alex Heath from The Verge about a prototype of AR glasses or a new device that they're working on. And he said something along the lines of, this is the most advanced piece of consumer technology we have ever created as a human species, which is a lot. I'm going to say, wow, that's a big thing to say. So maybe that's why they're saying that, why Zuckerberg's doing what he's doing, because they might have some big things coming that might be actual competitors. Yeah, I think strategically, I think he's just Boz specific. I think he's just really excited. I will say this: he had one of the latest episodes for the Boz on the Future, like his podcast. He's got a podcast. He had Matthew Ball, our friend Matthew Ball, on the podcast, and there was a really interesting discussion about a lot of different topics. And Boz kind of gave his review of the Vision Pro, which was a little bit different than Mark's, but it was interesting hearing Mark's review of it and hearing Boz's review of it. I think that what they kind of know what is on their roadmap. And I think that they're going to have some big things coming in the next couple of years, in the next months, probably, at some Meta connector, who knows? And I think they're going to bring something that is going to be, maybe rival Apple Vision Pro. I'm not sure. So strategically, I think there's some strategy behind it. I don't think this was haphazard or just done cause. So that's my perspective from a strategy perspective. You can take it from the technology side. Go ahead.
So it did feel haphazard to me. It felt like, well, we have to say something. And I've been in those like a type of company meetings, right? And that just never bodes well. Like, there's room for everyone in this sandbox, right? And so much credibility needs to instantly go to Zuckerberg for the investment that he made in Oculus and purchasing Oculus as a company and what he has done over the course of years. And it is undeniably, in my opinion, undeniably true that we would not see an Apple Vision Pro in its current state if it weren't for all of the important and hard dedicated legwork that we saw Meta put into what has now become the Quest 3.
Yeah.
They are not the same thing. Right. If you look at your computer history, your computer hardware right? Even like the early Atari console was listed as a video computer system. That's what VCS meant, right? And yet we're talking about what we would call a video game console. But no, that was the original home introduction to a computer. And then that turned into, all of these different consoles, to the NES, now to the PlayStation, and blah, 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 blah. While we verged off and had PCs come into the home, and we had the Macintosh computer, we had the Apple II, and we saw Packard Bells and Dells, and then, now we're back to the latest Apple computers. These are just so different. Yeah, they're both computers, but they're so different things, right? We've got a PlayStation 5, you've got an Apple MacBook Pro. Those are two different things. They're both computers. And I see the same thing when it comes to what Meta has built. And I will be honest, in its current state, I still prefer the Meta hardware. So before anyone thinks that I'm just jumping on some Apple bandwagon, that's never been my history.
Yeah.
I see the value of what Apple is doing. I understand what that hardware is and why it is necessary. I see what Meta has done, where they've brought the Quest headsets, and I'm so enamored. And that is the headset I use the most. That is my daily driver headset. It's undeniably more comfortable. It really is. There are things that it does better that Mark completely glazed over. That bothered me. Having the built-in headset or battery, the fact that it's lighter. Yes, it is running on a much weaker processor, right? I mean, the Apple Vision Pro headset is stronger than your MacBooks, right? It's got an M2 processor with an R1 that's doing all your graphics and heavy lifting. So it is basically it is a full-fledged computer, whereas the Quest is still running on very powerful Qualcomm chips. It's amazing what they're able to get these things to do. They both have fantastic internal tracking. They both got hand recognition. They've both got colored pass-through. And I will be the first to say, I don't think that Apple's pass-through is so much better than the Quest 3 that it justifies all of the praise it's getting.
Really? Okay.
I really don't. Now, what it does do better is it's smooth. You don't get the weird artifacts while it's trying to calculate 3D space. That's something that will get fixed. You're also comparing a $3,500 headset to a $500 headset. I get all of that. Where Mark lost me was all of the other stuff that he said that had to do with the experience. As he talked about working in the headset and multiple screens. Oh yeah, we do this too. We've worked on that with the Quest Pro. Listen, the Quest Pro was not a good headset. And anyone who worked with one, I think, knows
the first one
definitely lacked.
Right?
The Quest Pro.
Oh, the Quest Pro, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The one that we don't like talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly, you did, because they want you.
That's exactly what happens with the Quest Pro. Yeah, my God. Totally.
Yeah.
Quest Pro.
Quest 1, fantastic first time. Quest 2, amazing upgrade. Quest Pro, what are you doing? Quest 3, for $500, it's a steal. But the Quest Pro happened. And that was their Apple moment. If there was a moment for all of this, it was that. And they made some bad decisions. They didn't put the depth sensing camera in it. They left that part of what's now called the trunk in that headset empty. That was a decision that they made.
I actually don't know anyone that has a MetaQuest Pro. I don't know.
I've got one of each.
You got a Pro? Okay. I never bought the Pro. And I would be the kind of person that would buy a Pro, but I didn't buy a Pro.
It was their first headset that had the pancake lenses. The lenses are amazing. Some people really like the comfort of it. I'm a top strap guy. We've talked about that before. It's about head shape. But I will say that the Quest Pro is actually more comfortable than the Apple Vision Pro. And this was a headset that came out in 2022, I think.
Yeah, it was 22.
21 or 22, something like that.
And it was more focused. I remember it was focused on enterprise, I believe.
It was focused on enterprise. They wanted to launch workrooms. And this is what gets me is all of this content that he's saying in his video is all true. But why didn't you do it? That was when I got to the end of the video of him talking about all of the multiple screens and the ability to work and all of these things that they've been working on for years. Okay, great. Why didn't you do it? Because that was what always got me is I was a huge proponent of Meta workrooms. Workrooms actually could have been streamlined and made perfect a year ago. I don't know what their internal staffing is and all of that looks like, but they had all of the ingredients. It was just a lack of execution.
It's interesting because it's funny that I even forgot about the Pro. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think the medical
People forgot about Pro. They forgot,
right? But yeah, I totally forgot about the Pro. Like, it doesn't register in my brain, which is really bizarre. I was like, wait, the Pro. Totally
it definitely happened, and that was their first color pass through. That was supposed to be their enterprise. I mean, it was an it was now it's laughable to say it was expensive.
Can you buy it?
No.
Right?
No. They only did one. I think they only did 1 or 2 runs of it. It was a $1,500 headset, which was at the time considered way too expensive. Now we can laugh at that.
Now it's like, of course I would buy that.
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't a bad. I said it wasn't a good headset, and it had a lot of flaws. But it wasn't a bad first attempt. It's just a question of then why did it stop, right? And that was where I got hung up and was like, this feels like a rushed conversation because all of the things that he's comparing literally apples to oranges here isn't incorrect, but it is a pure lack of execution. The hardware is amazing.
Well,
right?
But is it really it is for that device, but I think that I have to believe that they have some tricks up their sleeves. And
of course.
And even though this might seem haphazard, I don't see him doing something not strategic. I think everything he does, even though it might not look like it at times, is very strategic. And I do from paying attention to Boz and everything, they've got something coming. It'll be big. It'll be game on for real game on. And we'll have to see. I don't know. But the headset wars or whatever we're calling this, it's just heating up. It's
the battle for the eyes.
The battle for face computers is an article I read. So it's definitely heating up. I want to move away from this a little bit if you're okay with it. Are you good?
Yeah. I've said my piece.
You've said your piece. I do think they've got something. There's something coming, right? But I think there's a lot of other stuff happening. So there's obviously rumors that Samsung's going to bring something. Sony's going to bring something.
Yeah.
The latest one I've heard, and you and I were talking about this, Huawei.
Does not matter. Doesn't matter.
It matters from a global perspective, Lee. It matters from a global perspective, and I'll tell you why. So supposedly Huawei is going to have a Huawei Vision or some type of competing device. Obviously not as powerful as the Vision Pro, but apparently they are going to introduce something to compete with the Vision Pro. Why does it matter? It might. Give me your take first, because then I'll tell you why I think it does matter.
Because we globally have access to all the same parts, right? So while they might come up with something clever and we'll see that adapted into Western hardware, but they're just a blacklisted company from entering the Western market for the most part. So we're not going to see a Huawei headset in the United States, just like you don't see Huawei phones. Now, you're right, for the Eastern market, it's going to do great because you don't see a lot of Apple devices in that market either. But we don't have a whole lot of listenership on that side over there either. So I don't know, I think for the West, we still have this barrier between the Western and Eastern markets when it comes to this technology that we kind of are chasing each other on a little bit. HTC is a really good example. HTC does really well in this market when it comes to the Asia market, and rightfully so. They still struggle in the US market ever since they changed their methods on the Vive Pro. And I'm a huge HTC fan. I'm a huge Vive fan. I think that they have made probably some of the most interesting design choices, comfort-wise design choices I've seen in hardware. I think they're a really forward-thinking company that we're not giving enough attention to. But it is this Western market is going to focus on. It's the same reason why the Pico is struggling in the US, right? The Picos had a hard time getting in just through approvals for little FCC tags that you get printed on them. They can't get that stuff in line, so it makes it hard to hit US shelves. So it's doing okay in Europe, but it's not doing well in the U.S. market, which is a huge boon for.
Well, and Pico's owned by TikTok,
Apple,
Samsung, right? Not TikTok.
Well, yeah, and ByteDance. Well, and TikTok, which is the first social media. I think it's the first social media app to make it onto Apple Vision Pro.
On the Apple Vision Pro, true.
They finally got on there, so they got their foot in the door. But ByteDance is just this huge company in the Eastern market that I think most U.S. consumers don't even know to look at or how big that giant really is. And they're the ones that I think are doing it clever. They're not drawing their lines in the sand and saying, you're going to buy our product. They're saying, we're going to have a product. And if you're not going to buy it, we're still going to put our content on your product. And they're going to kind of seep through the cracks. And that's not a bad strategy for a lot of that. But I just don't see Huawei's got such a hard line in the sand from the hardware market to make it into the Western market. I don't see it having that impact.
Well, it's interesting because, and I'm always traveling internationally, but when you go like somewhere like Latin America, Huawei's everywhere. It's Huawei Cloud. Not most people, a lot of people have a Huawei phone. So I could see that potentially being one, when you go to like emerging markets, like parts of Africa, right? And you go to Latin America. The East, like there is a market. People do use Huawei products heavily and do use Huawei Cloud. So I think that there could be something there where there is true competition at some level, maybe from everyone's going to want the Ferrari, right? Like the people who can afford the Ferrari will buy the Ferrari. So same thing with the devices. Who can afford the Vision Pro or whatever the ultimate device is, they're going to buy what ultimate device it is, right? But there are going to be different people that use maybe other devices. So I think that that's where Huawei comes to play in some of these emerging markets with some of the other devices. So like I think that there is,
if they come,
maybe not
they come to those
high level.
But can they come to those markets with half of a storefront, right? Because that's now, you know what I mean? Like Huawei's got to convince a lot of popular apps to go through the legwork. And it is not like the mobile app game is a little bit of conversion, but once you're starting to convert like to new hardware that is like stereoscopic vision with like motion controls and like customized controllers. If I'm sitting there and I've got a popular, social VR game, I'm going to look at the Huawei market and make a decision of, do I really want to put in the financial necessities and even effort to make that conversion? You gotta see the numbers first. Mm-hmm. So can they sell that new hardware in a half-baked store? Maybe. I mean, Apple's selling hardware in a half-baked store. Let's just call it what it is. They're Apple. So
they're Apple.
I don't know.
Well, they are, as I understand, they are going to launch the Vision Pro internationally. It's just going to roll out at some point in Europe.
They have to,
at some point in Asia,
sure.
Right? It's not going to be US based, right? So
of course.
I do see this. To me, is the fact that there is that rumor that Huawei is going to bring something is part of this.
I could see it. I'm just more excited for Samsung.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So I don't know. I think it's.
I'm gonna put the Huawei thing on a fad for the eastern or for the western side and in future for the eastern side, because that's how the wall's drawn. It's just the way it is.
I'm still really, I'm gonna keep my eye on what like Huawei might be doing. I'm keeping my eye on TikTok on the Apple Vision Pro. I thought that was a great move by TikTok. I'm not like the biggest fan. I'm not a super user at all, but I was like, you go, smart move. And eventually they're going to support any type of like spatial video or spatial content. I mean, I think they're getting ahead of the curve there. So some smart thinking there from the Vision, from the TikTok folks. And
but that goes back to that goes back to what we were saying with like Mark's statement of, well, we don't see a whole lot of push for like creating content with the Meta headsets because they're delivering content. Yeah. I think that's the difference. Like Apple said, this thing's going to make content. Mm-hmm. That is honestly something in my, decade of working in this, I actually didn't think much about. It's quite an interesting concept to say, and it's a very Apple thing to say, oh yeah, this is going to deliver content, but if it delivers content, it needs to be able to make content. And that's where it becomes a powerhouse. Because what does TikTok look like on a Meta headset, right? What is it?
Oof.
You got to.
I mean, I don't dance on TikTok, I'll be honest, but the first time I wanted to dance on TikTok has been the new Beyonce country songs.
Oh yeah.
I'm like obsessed. And I was telling my daughter today, I was like, can you film me? I might put this up on TikTok. I was like, yeah, because Anyway, I don't love all country music, but I absolutely love her new music. I'm like all for.
Well, that's okay. I don't know if I'd call it country music. So.
Well, people are calling the country stations. I mean, can you play Beyonce? Right? And some.
Which is that's a step. That's a good step. Don't get me wrong. It's a good step.
That's a good step. Anyway, Texas Hold'em has me like I'm playing it on loop. Like I'm obsessed. So yeah, maybe I'll dance in spatial video. My kids are gonna be so embarrassed if I do that. But anyway,
that's why you do it. That's why you have to do it.
That's why I always joke. I'm like, keep doing this, keep misbehaving. I'm gonna dance on TikTok and follow all your friends. So yeah, I definitely keeping my eye on Meta. Like, I think they have a big vision, big things coming. We are going to include a link to that episode of Boz's, podcast with Matthew Ball, which is really fun to listen.
Good.
I mean, I respect Matthew. I think he's fantastic. He's got a new version of his book coming as well. I think we're all kind of diving deep into spatial and kind of the evolution of spatial web. So very thrilled to see kind of what's coming. So anyway, let's go to a break. And then when we get back, we'll talk about AI. Obviously, tons of news happening there. A little bit of gaming and future of amusement parks and entertainment and dispatch from the Fringe. So let's go on break.
Flowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them. That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This message is brought to you by Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. And this is more than an ad. This is an invitation to be part of the stories the world can't stop watching, to connect with moments that dominate the conversation, to participate in culture, not just advertise around it. With the most sought-after IP, passionate audiences, and an advanced AI-powered foundation, WBD advertising transforms attention into influence and impressions into outcomes. This is innovation. This is impact. This is opportunity. This is Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. Visit advertising.wbd.com to learn more.
Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Zero. The accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think spreadsheets were just part of it. Ugh. But real-time cash flow? Wow. Invoices that chase themselves? Even better. Books that automate? That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No spreadsheet in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
All right, so we're back from the break, and now we have to dive deep into AI. There's so many news. I don't know where to start. Should we start with the obvious, which is Sora, or should we do Reddit?
Let's start with Reddit. Because I got too much to say about the Sora thing.
All right. Let's start with Reddit. Maybe you can give people the 411 on like the cliff notes on what we're talking about.
Yeah, so the Cliff Notes, Reddit has struck a deal to utilize its user content to power AI systems. This was it's a yearly deal for them. The estimates are about $60 million in revenue per year to leverage its content from its users to basically help generate AI libraries. This comes on basically what is the eve of them hoping to have an IPO, probably in its assumption to kind of bolster their value so their IPO does better at launch. The user base, if anyone knows anything about the user base, the Reddit user base really values its anonymity, and it's not thrilled. It's not quite to the pitchforks and torches that I think some people thought it would be. I think some people like myself kind of assumed it was already being utilized to power AI libraries. So that really was more of they're being honest and open about this. That's interesting. But it is an interesting play, and one that I think is something we're going to see more often as we started seeing things like we brought about by the New York Times lawsuit for OpenAI of leveraging their user or their content to help power their engine. In the back of my head is, well, this makes a lot of sense because you can basically clear this up in a EULA, end user licensing agreement. And there's not a better source of just tons of random information. Not all of it good.
Not all of it good.
Not all of it accurate. Yeah, I was gonna say. But if you just wanted to understand a large language model, Reddit would have it, right? It's just people talking all the time. And in different languages and in different dialects and in different personalities and in weird spellings. And so I think that it is a move that makes sense. What their users are going to think of it in the long run, I think they'll shrug it off. I think this is the future. I think we're just going to, just like we've seen social media companies leveraging our data to provide targeted ads. Why would we think they wouldn't leverage our data to provide targeted artificial intelligence?
Well, I think I started to think about, it's just not just Reddit, but Quora. Remember that one where you ask questions?
Oh, yeah.
Answer?
Yeah.
Quora, leverage for large language models makes total sense. Even from a long-term strategic point, like leveraging like whatever Elon decides to do with X, and we're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but maybe leveraging that for training, X.AI or whatever for his LLMs. Like there's so much content there, right, that would fall under that idea and that concept, right? To be able to train these models. So,
that AI would be so mean.
Oh, yeah.
If there was one I'm worried about.
I don't go to X much anymore. I'm going to be honest. I don't go to X much anymore. Like every once in a while. When I want to find out what's going on in the AI world, because I feel like that's where a lot of conversation still happens.
Really?
When it comes to, yes, like Sam Altman, like, all the requests he was taking for what we're going to talk about now all happen on X. So I still think there's a really vibrant AI community on X. So I don't actively participate as much in X, but I will look at some of the posts and things that are happening there. So
no, it makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense.
So do you want to move on to OpenAI?
Yeah. That's about all I had to really think about that. It's a new article that the stuff with Reddit will unfold over time. It's just I think we're going to see more companies do this. It makes sense. When you make content, you're powering someone else's engine. And that's just the way it's always been. I remember back in the day, do you remember Goog 411?
No. What is that?
Oh, wow.
Okay. Sounds familiar, but I don't remember. It sounds like, but I can't place
We're going to hop in the time machine and we're going to go back to the year 2007. Okay. My wife is over here gesturing, saying even further back.
Even further back.
So hop in the DeLorean with me. Let's go back in time. Google had a call-in. You remember 411, right? Back in the day, it was just a telephone service, right? For anyone under the age of 30. So 411 was a phone number you would dial, and you would get an actual live person, and they would connect you to a business or whatever it is. This was basically before we had the internet. You couldn't Google it. So if you wanted to find out how to get a hold of the In-N-Out Burger or the Shoney's or wherever you're geographically located, that's who you would call. So Google released in the early 2000s Goog 411, and if you dialed on the QWERTY keypads of telephones, a lot of people don't remember those either, GOOG 411, you would get an automated, you'd hear this bleeping sound, and you get this automated sound, and it would say, you've reached Goog 411. What services are you looking for? And you could talk to it and tell it what company you were trying to get a hold of, and it would tell you over the phone its hours of operation and ask if you wanted to be connected to it. It was a completely free service. 411 used to cost money. This was a free service. I used Goog 411 all the time when I was in college. And every time you did it, you actually heard your voice for a couple of seconds being processed. And it just almost sounded like your voice was being played backwards digitally. That That moment, what Google was doing right there was it was harvesting voice data.
Yep.
And when its smartphone came out, that's why Hey Google was so much better than Siri when it launched.
That's such a good point. Oh my God.
This idea of harvesting user data is not new. You kind of have to do it to build. No, you have to do it to build engines. It's not even like it's a negative impact. I don't mind at all that they were leveraging my voice samples to make Hey Google better when their phone launched. It worked great. It meant that out of the box, the phone understood my voice. I didn't have to train it, So that's not new. Anyways, that's my soapbox. Welcome back to the future. We're back in 2024.
It's funny because I still use 411. Give me the 411, and it's like, Now that I think about it, most people don't understand. Like the younger generation. No. My kids know because they by this point, like I say that all the time, so they're like, "Oh, okay, mom." But they're like, "Why 411?" But yeah, it's a good point.
What happened on April 11th? I don't know.
Mommy, what happened on April 11th? So, OpenAI, lots of news. They've completed a deal that is valuing the company at $80 billion. $80 billion. That's crazy.
That's a big number.
A big number. How long have they been around? It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Great. But yay, congratulations to Sam and everyone there, I guess. They also, they haven't released it though, but they released the announcement in a technical paper, not a full on, it was actually, I don't even know if I call it a technical paper. I don't even know what to call it. A blog post or something detailing a little bit more, but they have released Sora, which is...
Yeah, it was an announcement paper.
Yeah, it was an announcement paper. There you go. It's an announcement paper called Sora, which is their text to video model that has been all over everywhere. I mean, all over social, all over the news. Like just...
I'm so sick of seeing it.
Me too. I'm kind of a little bored at this point. I'm like, I've seen that video a million times. So it's been overwhelming. I mean, I was very, very shocked when I saw it at first. What are your thoughts around that? Because I have certain things that I'm thinking through, and things I think
you
need to
go
happen.
first because I got some weird things to say.
You got some weird things. So one thing is, I hope, for the sake of especially the United States, that this tool does not get released to the public till after the election. That's my hope.
Oh Lord, yeah.
I don't know if they're going to wait. Yeah. They just got the deal and they got valued at $80 billion. So I hope that they'll wait. My hope is that. That's a big hope. I don't know if it's going to happen, right? I don't know when they're going to release this. I mean, it's only available to some.
You know what? I say do it. Do it. Just rip the Band-Aid off.
No,
Lee.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't think, and here's why. Because I'm not going to bring any of my politics into this. I don't think there are undecided voters this election. I think it's already like people already have their candidate figured out. So if there were an election to see how bad it got, I guess this would be it.
I don't want to see that. No. So I hope my personal hope is they wait. Right. Right now, it's only a few folks that have access to it. And then a few influencers, I guess, that have access to it, that are doing some videos. Obviously, what they showcased was a whole bunch of videos, some of the best ones. But then Sam Altman was taking requests, like Mr. Beast, for example. Mr. Beast did him, like, don't make me homeless, Sam. And then he took a request and he got this video. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think MKHB got a hold of it early too, which makes a lot of sense. Like those are the influencers. And those are the people who have like actually background in like video editing and can bring.
I don't know if he did. I know he did a whole video review, but I don't know if he's played with it, to be honest, because he didn't. He talked about it, but I haven't seen anything.
What a missed opportunity! If like that's the first person I'd have given it to, right? Yeah. He does so much of his own video editing; it would make sense.
Yeah, and he was talking about like, should I be concerned? It hit home for him, right? Because he's a video content.
Oh yeah, so, it's gonna hit home for everybody.
Yeah. So I have a lot of feelings about it when it comes to the marketing industry and the creative services industry, and we can get into that. The point I want to make right now is that I read a lot of Gary Marcus. So Gary Marcus has a great AI newsletter called Marcus on AI, and I highly recommend. He has a free version and a paid version. Paid version is totally worth it. And he's been talking a lot about how a lot of us are seeing these videos with Sora, and we think because of what the the announcement paper says, that it actually understands physics. And his whole premise is that it doesn't really. Right, that
wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. So if you dig deeper into what he's talking about, because I've been talking a lot about large vision models, models that are world builders, models that have perspective and perception that allows them to navigate the physical world. That's where I think spatial computing starts to get really interesting, and you start to create these large vision models. His perspective is completely different. He says this is actually with frames. This is not really looking at the physics of the space, because it doesn't, you're training it on video. You're training on video from the past. Like, it's not real life video. It's not real time. Right. That's why I think a device like the Vision Pro, or any device that has real time data and it is scanning the world physically on a constant basis, is going to be the key to unlock large vision models. Right. So that's why I think it's incredibly important to truly understand that the impact of this as a world building tool truly happens when you unlock large vision models coming from computer vision and these devices that are scanning the world. So there's some
I think you could potentially bridge that gap. And maybe this is really where you're both right. Because it still has access to all of the documentation of human history of physics, right? So it has those understanding, like the math of it all kind of sitting on a shelf. And if it's got to then compile something into a video, which is just a series of stills, and create something where it has to understand the physics of what's actually happening in that video, it has everything it would need as a recipe to make the right logical assumptions. It could only get more powerful as we start putting spatial content into it, and get more accurate. But I think it's got enough data sitting in there, I would hope, to at least leverage it to make some logical assumptions of like gravity and how light refracts and things like that.
Yeah, I think his point is more about these models and how they're being presented as world builders, and how they still don't have context. They don't have perception and perspective yet. So thinking that they are world builders, how it was presented, is a bit of a fallacy, right? Maybe I would love to have Gary on our podcast. That would be like,
I would love to talk with him too, because I would love to talk with anyone who's willing to have a negative conversation. Not a negative is the wrong word. Have a more honest conversation, and not just like this big bolstering of like OpenAI is the best company in the world. And not that there's anything wrong with them, but just like, let's have a real conversation and split the hairs, and see where we wind up. My take on all of it is, I honestly think Sora is a massive smokescreen. This is just the thing no one seems to want to talk about this week, because they've got all this pretty content of like puppies playing in snow and funny Disney looking monster animations playing with a candle, and it all looks amazing. It does.
Yeah. I mean, it looks beautiful. Like some of it.
It looks beautiful. It looks beautiful. But in the back end of it, what no one's talking about is, for whatever reason, OpenAI the last week has just fallen asleep at the wheel. They had an update pushed, and I think it was in response of making sure that their terms of service didn't take copywritten material to the blah 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 blah, pushed into their system, and it has rendered it absolutely useless to me.
So interesting when you
I have never fought with ChatGPT as much as I have this week. Everything I put into it, it keeps saying, "Oh, I can't do that. I'm sorry, I can't do that," or "I cannot retrieve that." Stuff that I put into it, that's of my own writing, directly into the system, and I will say, "Store this, name this. I'm going to come back to it later." I wrote, so as a lot of people we've talked about before, like, I'm an author. I'm working on a book right now, and I've got a couple of other books in the pipeline. And so one of the things that I do, I try not to leverage AI to write anything. Like that, that's just not my, especially as a novelist who's in the fiction side of it. Like, I don't want it to write anything. That's my own work, but I don't mind utilizing it to grammar check. One of the things that I used to really like doing is I would take a chapter and I would dump it into it, and I would name that chapter and tell it to remember it, and then ask it to read it back to me. So because it has a fantastic voice, like speech recognition, like text to speech is incredible on this thing. And that would help me hear where like I might have had typos or it doesn't flow properly or whatever. And now it can't do it. My own writing,
Wow.
It refuses.
So did you cancel? Like, what are you?
My fingers on the button. I got the month to kind of like figure out what I wanted, because it's a $20 a month membership, right? Mm-hmm. Like I could get another streaming service for I could get 2 streaming services for that and get 5 shows I wanted to watch, because that's a good place for our money. But yeah, my finger's on the button. I'm really considering it at the end of this week until the dust settles, because I can't use it for a lot of the stuff that I was utilizing it for, even to the effect of like creating images through the DALL-E system. I would be descriptive and say, I want you to create this. And if that description even remotely sounded like something that existed, like was a character or a person, even if it wasn't, it would tell me it wouldn't do it. I'm sorry, that's against and it won't tell you why. It won't tell you what part of it. I have heard, I'm sorry, I can't complete this question. It goes against our terms of service. And I'm like, this is stuff that I'm writing. This is my own, like,
this is your own content, right?
This is my own content. This is not me asking you to like read the first chapter of Kathy Hackle's latest book, right? Like, that's not what I'm trying to do. But as I'm working on stuff, it is bold-faced broke. And it happened this week. And a lot of other people who were heavier users, and this is the key. A lot of people want to talk about OpenAI, but they're not heavy users of ChatGPT. There's a difference. If you're a heavy user, you already know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's cool. This is what's happening. But it seems way too suspicious that they have flooded the social media market with all of their Sora stuff on the same week that they push this update on ChatGPT. And like right now, it just does not work.
That's so interesting, because Jenny Nicholson was saying the same thing, right? I tagged her on your post, and she's been having issues with it as well. And the same, she's a super user just like you.
Yeah. So. I mean, it has gotten combative. Like, it will not answer questions.
That's so crazy. So you think Sora's a smoking screens?
Well, I think that there's technology behind it. I always question when I see content, because anyone who has used ChatGPT-4 and tried to describe a scene and gotten an image back, how broken that image, the amount of specificity that you have to get to. We talked about this a couple of episodes. You cannot ask ChatGPT to draw an image of a nerd without glasses. It won't do it.
It won't do it. Yeah.
It won't do it. Right. Like, that's the thing that I keep going back to. And there's a lot of examples of those little like things where it can't do this one thing. Now, the trick is say, describe a nerd without glasses, and it will do that. And then say, cool, make an image based off of your description. And then you'll get a picture of a nerd without glasses. But on some level, you're fighting with the machine. And you still are fighting with those machines. So when I see this really amazing content coming from Sora, the back of my head is, how much fighting did it take for it to output that 3-second video loop? And this is when everyone's like, we're all losing our jobs. You're not losing your jobs yet. We've got a couple of iterations before everyone really needs to worry about that. So, start training for the next thing.
I think from a marketing and creative services industry, I think a lot of people are alarmed at the quality, right? Even if you're a drone pilot, right, and you're doing drone footage, that could be concerning. But granted,
copywriters are in trouble, right? Like, people who do copywriting for marketing, it's problematic. Although I have noticed, unless you're very specific in how you train your voice, all of the copywriting sounds the same, right? Like, it does have this default copywriter voice.
Default copyright,
yeah.
So I don't know. From the creative perspective, like, I do think, if I'm a company and I'm paying for really expensive videos and I might be able to leverage this tool in some ways, potentially I'm going to be leveraging this tool as a corporate. So I don't know.
Yeah. If you look at we've got some of the best marketing agencies, especially content creating agencies in Portland, Oregon, right? And you look at like Nike ads, like they've got some of the best out there. If anyone has ever seen a Travel Oregon ad, same agency, content producer, the Travel Oregon ads are a work of art. That doesn't go away. I really don't believe so. This goes back to.
I don't think the Ferrari goes away.
Art doesn't
Ferrari
go away.
Of content. I think there's always going to be a Ferrari of content that people are going to aspire to. right?
And that's
But there's
because
the
it's
Kia.
art.
I think the Kia of content gets
Yes.
in trouble.
Yeah. But that's always been, I mean, yeah, if you want to go to, the late night infomercial side of marketing, then yeah, that's been a thing. There's a
No
market
offense to
for it.
Kia, by the way.
No.
No offense to Kia, but it's very different than Ferrari. So.
But at the end of the day, it's kind of like, I don't know. AI doesn't make art. It doesn't. It makes content.
Mm-hmm.
And so content creators, yeah, there's something to be worried about. But if you find art in your content, no, it's still going to have a voice. It's still going to be unique. And it's about leveraging what AI can do to make that art even better. But I just don't see it as a replacement.
I think my advice to anyone that is launching something is, because of the things I'm seeing, is to remain lean, but have a highly capable team. A team that knows how to use different technologies, that can pivot, that is eager to learn and try new things, but stay lean. That would be what I would advise anyone right now.
And lean into, speaking of lean into the technology. Don't just swear it off and say, no, this is the competition. Like, no, you have to learn how to leverage this to better, it's like my writing. I don't use it to write content, but I will use it so I have a better option to review that content so it can be better. And I think that's a perfect practical use for writers and for content creators and for artists, to lean into this technology. It's like going back in time and newspapers not adapting to the internet. The ones that didn't go online don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But to say that news outlets don't exist would be ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to try to get Gary on the podcast. I think it'd be very useful to have him, and we could both do that interview because he's fascinating. It's
awesome.
Interesting to hear a very different perspective on AI from his perspective. So I do want to move into our last segment because we need to start wrapping this up. But let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we're seeing in the future of entertainment, the future of amusement parks. There are news that Dungeons and Dragons is going to open an interactive theater show in New York. Not rumors, it actually is going to happen. So for any of you Dungeons and Dragons fans out there, this is going to be really exciting, super fun and interactive. So that's really interesting. Like, would you do something like that? Would that be fun?
Oh, totally. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. I mean, I grew up in Florida, so we were we were right next to Universal Studios. We're right next to Disney World. We always did a lot of that live entertainment, and I think the world is excited for it because we had just such a recent threat that it could all go away. Right, 2020, we didn't think we'd be able to do any of this stuff again. No one knew. So now we can do it, and it can be interactive, and the audience participation. Yeah, of course I do that. Sounds like a blast. Yeah,
I love immersive theater. It's one of the things I seek out anywhere I go. There's immersive theater. I mean, from the first time I did Sleep No More in New York to anything immersive theater, I absolutely love. And sometimes I'll be a part of it. Like sometimes because you go, you can partake. Sometimes you can just be more of a watcher, a lurker. Yeah. So I like taking different perspectives when that happens. When it comes to future of amusement parks, I thought this was interesting. There's obviously news that the Disney's of the world and the Universals of the world are looking at regional parks. Like there's going to be a new one in Dallas. Like there's different regional parks that are going to start to open, right? But there was news also of a group of former Disney employees and Imagineers that are coming together to build a $2 billion amusement park called American Heartland in, guess where? The American Heartland in Oklahoma. So I thought that was a really interesting choice.
I think that makes sense. You've got a lot of the central area of the United States. If you think Disney, you think Anaheim, California for Disneyland, or you think Orlando, Florida for Disney World. And the same goes for Universal. Like as soon as you think big theme park, you immediately default to California or Florida. And that is such an unobtainable location for so much of the central part of the United States. Like that is such a hard place to get to, either one.
Yeah.
And so having some of these smaller, I mean, this is kind of what Six Flags was originally supposed to do, right? Yeah. Like it was kind of scattered throughout. Like everyone kind of had access to a Six Flags somewhere. which is a smart move. Not as big as a Disney World, not as immersive as a Universal, but fun. So I think it totally makes sense. Oklahoma, 100%.
Good choice.
100% makes sense. Yeah.
American Heartland, right in the middle of the American Heartland. And, I wonder if people that go to Dollywood are going to want to go to American Heartland and not go to Dollywood, because Dollywood's...
Well, that's a good question.
As American as it like, it's a fun place, actually. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
A lot of people,
I went there once and I had a good time.
A lot of people don't know that a lot of people forget that Dollywood wasn't always Dollywood. So Dollywood used to be something called Silver Dollar City.
Really?
Silver Dollar.
I did not know that. It's always been Dollywood in my book. So
no, it was Silver Dollar City up until when did it open? It opened sometime in the 80s, I think. I'd have to go back and look. I'm not Wikipedia, but somewhere around there.
Walking history is like I don't know.
But yeah, it was Silver Dollar City. I was too young to have ever gone. It was before my time, and she bought Silver Dollar City and turned it into Dollywood. And originally it wasn't really supposed to be full of rides or anything like that. It was really supposed to be about the music and the entertainment and the history of Dolly Parton, which was in and of itself, really interesting. And then it turned into Dollywood, and Dollywood's the biggest reason why I think Pigeon Forge and in parts of like Cherokee, North Carolina still thrive to this day with their tourism. Dollywood is its own attraction. I don't think that this necessarily harms, competes, or deters. I think it'll be a completely different experience. And I do think Oklahoma is a smart move because you're not dealing with harsh winters and things like that. That was always part. Yeah, well, and Florida's got hurricanes. California's got earthquakes. We all have
many of the natural disasters. I get it.
We all have our skeletons.
Well, yeah. What is your perspective on the future of amusement parks and spatial computing? Like, I'd love to hear one or two thoughts before we go into Dispatch.
I think it's been happening for a decade now, and we didn't know it. This is back to spatial computing has to go to work first. Disney has been, all of Disney World is covered in cameras. They know exactly where everyone is. Everything is, considered and accounted for. And all of that is part and parcel to spatial computing. Maybe on a more rudimentary level than people want to admit. But it still kind of falls into it as the computer is looking at its spaces and calculating what needs to happen. And then it sends a message and someone goes and takes care of it. Great. Or it auto takes care of it, depending on what you're doing. A lot of rides have been working on this. One of the interesting things that we're going to see is it'll probably be the slowest to see new technology because it's hard to adapt a lot of this tech in a meaningful way to the ride itself. I think the Mario Brothers, the Mario Kart ride in Universal here in California is probably the best example. Like this,
which uses the Mira headset, which was acquired by Apple. So
yeah, it kind of has this AR approach to it, but it's necessarily rudimentary because it has to fit a bunch of different people. They have to be able to get in and out of it really quickly. They don't have time to learn how to use it, right? Like so, it has to be simplified. And so if you are used to this technology, it may seem archaic. If you've never seen it, it may seem magical. But as long as it's Mario and Mario Kart, it's going to be fun. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. I still love going to Disney World and seeing the animatronics. And that stuff's been there for like 50 years. So,
is the Carousel of Progress still there? It's not there anymore, right?
Yes. If they took it out, I'm going to cry.
I don't think it's there. Is it there?
I would be shocked. That was,
I'll look. I don't know, but I have great video and great memories of it. And like the last time I went, I got tons of video of the VR part and
with Grandma in the VR headset.
VR headset.
Now I got stuck on that ride, on that scene one time when I was there, and it just refused to move. And I was stuck on that scene on loop for 45 minutes. So I have a little bit of trauma with Grandma playing that VR battle game. I've seen it way too much. She's way too good at that.
That's crazy. But the first time I saw, I always tell people, the first time I saw an augmented reality, other than like a viewfinder, if you could say that, was at I was 8 years old. The Haunted Mansion, when you're coming out,
totally.
You have a ghost next to you, and you're just like in shock. So I think
that
there's a lot of this technology that's introduced to us in a lot of these, amusement parks.
The first time I ever saw VR was at Universal. Was at Epcot, and it was, I want to say it was about 1993, and they had made a VR experience for Aladdin, where you could ride the magic carpet ride. And they were basically demoing. It was like a live show, and they pulled one person out of the audience to get on the magic carpet and wear the VR headset, and then you watched it on a screen because it was just such a new, cutting edge technology. And I was absolutely, as like an 8 or 9 year old, continually crushed that I went and watched this over and over again, trying to get selected. I didn't understand at the time. My head was too small to wear the headset because the headset itself was like 25 pounds. But yeah, that was my first introduction to VR in general.
Amazing. So I do want to go to Dispatch from the Fringe with Lily. We are going to be hearing about mind control robots. Mind control robots. Maybe they can, do my dishes as well, hopefully. So Lily, take it away.
Hello, Kathy and Lee. Welcome to this week's Dispatch from the Fringe. This week, I'm bringing you a story out of a university from Singapore. Nanyang Technological University has discovered a way to make our Jedi dreams come to life. Okay, not really. But if you ever wanted to control your device or robotics in your home with a swipe of the hand, then this might be interesting to you. In Nanyang Technological University, they have discovered a way to create ultra-thin and stretchable electronics. These electronics, called soft electronics, are materials like hydrogels and biocompatible plastics. They're not hard or like silicone. One device they have is called Bind. It's a Lego-like universal connector. It's soft. It can join electronic components by pressing them together. These electronics can detect bioelectric signals from the skin, muscles, and organs, and transmit these signals to control robots or other electronic devices. Where this comes in handy is for people with impairments and other types of disabilities that can let them control wheelchairs or prosthetics, or even have less invasive pacemakers in the heart. These types of soft electronics can do other cool things like crop monitoring by being implanted directly in plants, and they come with many types of sensors, such as wireless connectivity, accelerometers, temperature sensing, and monitoring vitals. So while we use a lot of these types of sensors in our smartwatches and some of our other wearables, soft electronics may be what comes next. So watch out, watch. Soft electronics are coming for you. And that is this week's Dispatch from the Fringe.
All right. So yeah, mind control robots that are, let me read this, thinner than hair stretchable tech to mind control robots. Crazy.
Yeah, crazy that's too close. No. I like to be able to see my robots coming.
Dishes. Yeah, I just wanted to do the dishes. Like, really clean up and then clean the environment. I agree. So like we started off, cleaning the environment with robots, but definitely wanted to do the dishes. I mean, I already have a dishwasher, right, that does the dishes, but sometimes there's just too many dishes. So, I don't know. Lee, thanks for joining me again. Always a pleasure.
Happy.
Awesome. Before we wrap, I do want to share something super funny. I'm in the car with my 3 kids. And I'm talking to all my kids about gaming. We're talking about different games, some of the games they're playing, some of the things that I've played, some of the things we play together. And then my oldest 13-year-old daughter goes like, oh, you guys are boring me. It's always game, this game, that game. I was like, oh. So all of us, like my son, my youngest daughter, and myself, were just in shock because she's like 13 and she's starting to not be into games. So I'm like, I was shocked. We were like, gamer family. But yeah, I want to share that. So hopefully we'll be back to, I don't know, loving gaming. Anyway.
You never get out of it.
All right, we'll be back next week. Thanks everyone for tuning in for Tech Magic. Come for the tech, stay for the magic. Let us know any topics you want us to cover, any stories that you find interesting. We always love to hear from y'all. And we'll be back next week. So see you next week.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Business is booming. But you know what really helped? Zero. The accounting platform for small businesses. I used to think spreadsheets were just part of it. Ugh. But real-time cash flow? Wow. Invoices that chase themselves? Even better. Books that automate? That's a big one. And I can keep track from my phone while I get the job done. No spreadsheet in sight. What a life. Do right by yourself and your business and search XERO for your free trial. Conditions apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.